You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
Well, hello. Welcome to the Better Late Than Never edition of the Jenn and Rick Show. Yes, it's been one of those days, and it was the end of the month on a Monday and the beginning of the month on a Tuesday, and my work schedule outside of here has been crazy, and inside of here has been completely taking off, and the wife has been on vacation, so my honey-do list keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And no, folks, that's not necessarily a good thing. All right, so this is Jenn and Rick. We are live tonight, Tuesday, 11/1/2016, just a few minutes past the hour of 10, and I have my co-host with me this evening. Good morning, or good... can you tell I'm kind of all over the place? I do a show at night, I do a show during the day, I'm so confused. Miss Jen, how are you?
I'm doing all right. We're in the home stretch here.
I know, we're exactly 7 days away now?
Yeah, man, I can't wait for it to be over.
So it's interesting that you brought that up. A serious question. So if Hillary wins the election, do they change the name of Air Force One to Con Air? Inquiring minds want to know.
That'd be awesome.
All right, so speaking of election debacles, we now have Hillary Clinton under FBI investigation number 2. That's right, not once, but now twice. And now apparently Paul Manafort is being reviewed by the FBI as well for his possible connections to Russian mobsters.
Grief. Oh, good grief.
So,
I mean, it's
fun
like...
times.
Where does it end here? I mean, it just doesn't. It just keeps going on and on, right? There's like one new investigation. There's another new allegation. There's another, thing here or there dredged up from the past, all of which should completely, disqualify either one of these people from running for this office. But instead, here we are just trucking along, pretending like this is par for the course.
But you know why? Because there's such a mistrust with anyone in the media anymore who doesn't say the things that we want to hear that we automatically assume they're lying. This is happening on both sides, and I've never seen it this way before. People can trot out all of these different things about Hillary over and over and over again, and the left's like, oh my God, that's just a bunch of lies and BS, and it's a witch hunt, and it's because she has a vagina. No, it's because she's a thief. We know she's a thief. Her and her husband have stolen things from the White House. They actually had to return things that they kept when they left the White House. That's stealing. She's a thief.
Yeah.
And we know this. And yet the left is like, oh my God, it's just because she has a vagina. I'm so sick of people mansplaining to me why Hillary shouldn't be president. Who the hell came up with the word mansplaining? As a woman, can you explain that one to me? What the hell is that and why?
Oh, it's just another, BS crybaby feminist thing to be like, don't patronize me and don't tell me what to do and act like you know better because you're a man and, the patriarchy and all that. I think, luckily, I think in most circles it has become more of a joke than anything, with people saying it. But, there are those that take it very seriously, and I think it's utterly ridiculous. Mansplaining. I guess the only time where I think it could possibly, I could maybe stand by someone using it is like, if some is particularly maybe like an unmarried, never had kids before man tried to lecture me on like the pain of childbirth and like how I should have done it better or something like that. And I'd be like, yeah, okay, bro, you're mansplaining to me and you have no freaking clue what you're talking about. I could maybe get behind the term in some sort of situation like that, but not for what they want to use it for. They basically want to use it for any time a man is having a discussion with a woman and possibly proves her wrong. And somehow that's mansplaining.
Okay, so yeah, I was just curious because I actually know someone who uses that term a lot, and that's been her actual explanation as to why the election with Hillary has gone so badly. It's because we have we have all of these men who can't handle the fact that we're about to turn over the keys to the kingdom, as she says it, to someone with a vagina. Look, first of all, most men spend their entire lives trying to find one of those, so I'm not sure why we would care.
Oh, no kidding.
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not sure why we would care. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year trying to make sure we have access to one of those, so why would we care if the president has a vagina?
Yeah, we don't. That's not the problem here. The problem is that it's whose vagina it is. That's the problem.
Sorry, apparently the soundboard got a little overloaded.
Okay, good. I was thinking.
Nope, it wasn't you for once. The soundboard got a little overloaded, so there for a second everybody was hearing us sound like Robbie the Robot, so I was trying to clear it up.
Gotcha.
So anyway, it seems to be somewhat back to normal again. Sometimes you may hear an echo from me. If you do, just let me know and I can hit the button again, because sometimes when I refresh, it still causes weird things to happen. All right, so I've noticed that more with Bill and Dan than anybody else, but they seem to notice it quite a bit, so I've just been... Okay. Sometimes I can't hear it when it's still messing up. So, okay. So anyway, back to the mansplaining. I don't. She's been. This is now twice. Now I have a question, because I actually had told folks that I was going to try to look into this for tomorrow's show, but thanks to that whole issue with the wife being on vacation and coming home to a million different things going on, I actually will probably be running this show tomorrow on my time slot. So I have a question, only because I'm hoping that maybe you know something about it that I don't, and I don't mean to throw a curveball at you, because this is not something that we've talked about, but everybody keeps throwing around the Hatch Act and talking about how Director Comey may or may not have violated the Hatch Act. Have you heard anything about that?
I actually meant to look at it a little bit more today, and I forgot, because I have seen it. I have seen it being thrown there. I mean, I know that it's oh my gosh, when was it adopted? Sometime in like the 30s or 40s or something, and it's like basically supposed to keep it just doesn't want people that are involved with the offices like of the presidency, or I think it's the whole executive branch, from being involved in political activity. So like taking, basically they're saying that he has violated the Hatch Act by trying to throw this election by making this come up. Actually, here, I got it. I got it. The official Wikipedia of the Hatch Act of 1939, I was close, officially an act to prevent pernicious political activities, is a United States federal law whose main provision prohibits employees in the executive branch of the federal government, except the vice president, president, and certain designated high-level officials of that branch, from engaging in some forms of political activity. So, yeah, I mean, they're basically like acting like he's trying to throw a coup, and that he was breaching the Hatch Act by writing that letter and possibly reopening this investigation for partisan reasons.
Well, no, I mean, I was just kind of curious to see what the actual language of that was, because, I mean, it seems to me that it specifically talks about members of the executive branch. I wasn't aware that the FBI was actually part of the executive branch, but maybe I'm just an idiot with that stuff, and maybe I'm missing something.
Right. That's what I did see a few people pass by it saying, LOL, it wouldn't even apply to him. So I think that's probably correct, but I don't know for sure. I thank you for reminding me, because I really did want to research that some more and make sure that I kind of knew what was going on with all of that. But as far as I've seen, most people have said, no, I can't be considered that. It can't be a breach. It just doesn't even qualify. So.
Well, let's see what Google says. Is FBI part of the executive branch? Best answer. 4 is the... hang on. Now it's bringing up all kinds of extra crap. Is the FBI in the legislative, judicial, or executive branch? Best answer. Executive. It is part of the Department of Justice. So maybe I was wrong.
Well, maybe so. But I don't know that it's necessarily considered covered, but who knows? And either way, I don't think that even if his position is covered, I'm not sure. It would be very hard for them to prove that this was in some way a political activity, as opposed to new information fell in his lap and he had to act on it, which is much more what happened here.
So, I mean, according to Yahoo Answers, that was the top-rated answer, but the one right below it seems to make more sense to me. It says the three branches of government are executive, the president, judicial, the Supreme Court, and legislative Congress. Government bureaus and agencies don't really have anything to do with the three branches of government at the top, per se. I mean, where would you put the Forest Service? Under the Department of Agriculture, because they were formerly mainly used to harvest timber in the beginning. And where would you put them in the grand scheme of the three branches of government? The FBI is a bureau of its own, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, which falls under the Department of Justice, which makes it closest to the executive branch, because all of the departments are considered executive. It sounds like the judicial branch, because it's a law enforcement agency, while with judicial branch, you're talking about mainly charged with interpretation and upholding the U.S. Constitution when issues arise and are directly related to it. Clear as mud. I thought so. It's hard to teach a whole semester of civics in this little space afforded to you by Yahoo Answers. So I'm still going with my official answer of I don't necessarily think the FBI is actually a part of the executive branch. I think they are akin to the executive branch because of the fact that they're run out of the Department of Justice, but I don't necessarily think that makes them part of the executive branch, which would explain why you're right. I've seen lots of people that are like, yeah, it doesn't even apply. And I wasn't sure either. And so you're actually watching us research something and answer a question live on the air because we didn't have time. So yeah, that's just kind of how we roll.
Our extreme non-expert opinion on the topic.
Well, I'm an expert on some things, but that ain't one of them.
Right. That's what I meant, though.
No, I'm
not expert on that.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm just kind of curious, and to bring up this Comey thing again, the complete 180 of the Democratic Party right now has been completely amazing to watch, and the Republicans doing the exact same thing is really funny because 3 weeks ago the positions were exactly the reverse. The Republicans thought he was Satan, the Democrats thought he was the Archangel Michael. Now the roles are exactly reversed, and it's just funny because this just proves when you are rooting for people that have absolutely no positions and no stances, then it makes you flip and twist in the wind with every changing news story because you'll see people that do a complete 180 because a story breaks. Oh my God, see, we told you, and this guy's awesome now even though we hated him 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I mein, it's just it's so ridiculous how completely, partisan and biased everyone is on this subject. And, this is, I think in one aspect, this election and this process and, her investigation, all these things have really opened my eyes to how much I really do want to try to be, even though there are things that I'm absolutely going to be partisan on. There's no question about it. I won't budge on certain things. But when it comes to a lot of this stuff, it just shows me how I actually I do want to look at things objectively, and I don't want to have just a certain color glasses on when judging any of this kind of stuff. I mean, I think it's so absurd to be like, he's the devil, he's awful, he's corrupt, and then wait, no, now we like what he's doing, so he's wonderful, and obviously we have to defend him on every single little thing. I mean, it's just kind of made me realize just how many hacks there are, and then also how many people are just so easily swayed, and how I don't even know how to say it. I mean, they just kind of fly with the women will of whatever, and just kind of go back and forth, and it just depend on who says what they want to hear and what they agree with, as opposed to actually having some sort of integrity and fast-standing principles. So I don't know.
So there's a song that kind of sums up this whole election cycle really, really nicely. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, because watching these people run back and forth and flip with the wind and change their mind and do backflips and stand up straight to try to make sense of everything that they're seeing and hearing in the media, it so reminds me of watching Benny Hill run back and forth in this intro. And you know what? The thing about it is, I guess the reason I'm just kind of making light of it now is we've been fighting this now for, 18, 19 months? And we are 7 days away, and no matter who wins, there will be rioting in the streets, I almost guarantee you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to get kind of ugly. And, I'm not going to lie. There are people on both sides of this that I'm going to sort of watch and be very happy to kind of see the aftermath and the meltdowns and all of that. Like, it doesn't matter who wins. There are going to be delicious things to watch happen.
Laura Ingraham, we're talking about you. And Bill Mitchell. And Sean Hannity.
Bill Mitchell. Oh my gosh, Bill Mitchell. I'm going to be glued. I'm going to get notifications. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sign up for notifications so I know I don't miss a second of it. No, I'm just playing, but it is going to be really interesting.
Have. I'm not even lying. I've said I'm not even lying. I've already signed up for notifications from Laura Ingraham. I've signed up for notifications from Sean Hannity. I want to
Laura
watch the
Ingraham
meltdown
is such a special
firsthand.
snowflake, so I don't get notifications from her because I'm blocked.
I was going to say you can't get notifications from her, and sadly, I'm not smart enough to figure out how to do screen caps on an Android, so I can't really help you there.
I don't understand. All I did was question, her integrity and her principles. I don't know what was so offensive about that. I didn't even call her any names. I just questioned, which God she was bowing to. But
how dare you question anyone's principles?
What?
I said, how dare you question anyone's principles?
Oh yeah, I've been going through this today of people telling me things like that, like, it's not for you to say. It's not for you to question. Yes, it is. I absolutely can judge. Well, not if you're a Christian. Yes, I can. As a Christian, I absolutely can discern what is right and wrong and who I believe and who I think is, ethical and moral and who I think would do a good job and who I think will not and who I think's a lying liar who lies. I mean, I absolutely can judge these things. And just because the words that come out of their mouth are, I believe in Jesus, doesn't mean that excuses them from being judged like that, especially if they want to be president of the United States. You have to be more practical and just, otherwise, anyone that says that, you have to go, well, you have to forgive everything they've ever done and never said, and you can't say another word about them, so you just got to vote for them all. I mean, it's so ridiculous. I'm so sick of that crap being shoved down my throat.
And the thing about that is, the funny thing about all of that is they will tell you that about Trump, and then they will talk about all the horrible, terrible things that Hillary Clinton has done. And I'm not discounting a single one of those things because I think she is one of the most vile people on the planet. But I think he runs a close second, if not neck and neck. But the thing about that is they will praise Trump on one hand and denounce her on the other for the exact same reasons. She claims to be a Christian too. She goes to church. So where do we draw the line? Why do you get to judge her, but we're not supposed to judge Trump? And let me tell you, and let me explain something to you that for folks that may not know. I actually used to help preach at a church, so I do know the scriptures fairly well. I don't like to trot them out very often, but there are about 6 different scriptures that actually outline the fact that we are actually called to hold our Christian brothers and sisters to a higher standard than we do the rest of the world. When Jesus was talking about removing the log from your own eye before you worry about the speck in your brother's, he wasn't necessarily talking about Christians. He was talking about the rest of the world, because we're not supposed to hold them in judgment because we are supposed to be witnessing to them, so we cannot judge them. Now, once they have accepted Christ, Paul outlines it in several different places, so do the rest of the apostles, time and time again, where he holds them in judgment for things that they are doing and tells them they need to stop. That is what we are commanded to do. We are commanded to love the world and not judge them until such time as they do become Christians, and then we are to hold them up to a higher standard and teach them where they're doing wrong. Donald Trump is not a Christian by any stretch of the imagination because he proclaimed on national television he has never once felt the need to ask for forgiveness. Period. End of discussion. A Christian cannot say that and mean it and still be a Christian.
Right. And I actually kind of went through this with some people yesterday. I said, I don't agree that we can't take them that we have to take them at their word. Like, it's not our place to judge whether they believe or not. And I said, I don't have to believe them, but God does. I think I can question opportunistic, power-seeking, lying liars who lie on anything, especially if something like faith comes up when they're trying, they want to pull it out in order to gain something, like when they're trying to manipulate voters. And I think that that's actually, trying to manipulate the public with false faith is one of the most disgusting things you can do. There are people that do it all the time that fake it really, really well. But, you usually can kind of see what is scripted, what is not. When someone's asked something off the cuff and they're able to just really speak from their heart about Jesus Christ, I mean, you can pretty well be sure that that's not a put on. But, you know, there are good actors out there. But especially people that, you know, I'm not just saying this because I don't like him or that I don't like her or because she's a Democrat. I just think that they've both seriously lacked demonstrating anything believable to me about their supposed faith, and just like some things that you laid out. So, you know, and I had some people say, well, you know, then people won't want to. This is the kind of thing that makes us be seen as like judgy. And are you Christian enough? And is there a litmus test for that? I'm not looking for a litmus test, really. I just think there's like believable and not believable. And Trump, in my opinion, is not believable at all. And if someone is not going to come to our faith because of the judging or because a few Christians are jerks and mock someone's supposed faith that is obviously lying about it, then I would argue that if they're so easily turned off by that, then they were never open to accepting, you know, saving their soul for eternity and the peace and grace of the ever-loving God. They were never going to be ready and open to come to the Christian faith if that's what is the thing that's keeping them from it. So I just, I've been very irritated with this subject lately and with people trying to tell me that I'm not Christian if I don't vote Trump because Hillary is just that bad. I think you could make the same argument for her if you wanted to, based on her supposed Christian history.
No, and that's exactly my point, because you can. If we are to the point where we are not allowed to judge anyone on their actions as soon as they say I'm a Christian, then we have a problem. Because the thing about it is, and again, I'm really not trying to get preachy, but we keep going back in this direction again. Satan himself knows the Bible backwards and forwards. He knows every line, every verse, every scripture, and he can teach it to you better than your Sunday school teacher. So just because they can say the words and talk the talk doesn't mean that they're actually Christian, because Satan himself cannot possibly be a Christian, and yet he knows the word better than any of us. So I have a problem with all of this, because we keep being told, well, if you can't be a Christian and not vote for Donald Trump. I have seen, for God's sake, I have seen Pat Robertson give basically a huge pass to Donald Trump for being a complete chauvinistic pig. I have seen other people that I grew up watching and admiring as pastors and ministers tell everyone why they think they should be voting for Donald Trump. I'm here to tell you that you should not, and I'm just going to say it, you should not cast a vote for either one of these people, because neither one of them deserve to be president. They have both kept things from the American people. They have both lied. They have both done things that should disqualify them from the office, but we are so enamored with name recognition that that's all that matters anymore, is how well do you know the name of the person that you're about to vote for, because when you go look at the ballot, who's the name that's going to stand out? Do you know how many times I've heard that in political circles, in the political action committees and everybody else? We got to get somebody with name recognition, because we got to make sure that they remember that name when they go in there, when it's just them in the ballot. We need that name to stand out, so if nothing else, they remember, hey, I should vote for that guy because I remember that name, or I should vote for that girl because I remember that name. I am so sick of us being told that we have to put our standards aside and toe the party line, when at this point, no matter who gets into this office, we are screwed. The only thing that's going to change is where the money's going to go, because they're both going to spin us into oblivion. So stop telling me, because I won't support either of them, that I'm un-American and a traitor, because if the next person that tells me that, I'm going to give you my address and you can come to my house and show me that I'm a traitor, and we'll see which one of us walks away from it.
Amen. That was awesome.
Sorry, I'm a little angry.
That's all right. No, I feel you. I've been kind of, I feel like the closer we've gotten to this election, the more I've gotten some of these scolding and lecture type things from the people in real life and on Twitter about the Christian meaning of this vote. And, you know, people have changed so drastically. Before this, it was, so-and-so is a Christian, and, you know, Obama's not Christian enough. Obama's not a Christian, and that was okay to say. Now with Trump, it's not okay to say, and also we have to forgive him because he's a new Christian, so all of his past is washed away, so we can't look at any of that. And then also, now all of a sudden it's like, well, everybody makes mistakes, everybody's human, and we're electing a president, not someone. We're not electing someone to be our preacher. We're electing someone to be our president. And so she's so morally reprehensible that, it is your moral Christian duty to vote for him. To forget what you think about him and all his past, because it's washed away because he's a new Christian. And it's just been repulsive to me, and especially those leaders, those religious leaders and the preachers that are saying that in the pulpit. I would be very wary of anyone that chooses to go so political like that from that position. And we just crucified Obama for the churches he attended and the way that those preachers handled politics in the church. And I think that it would be remiss not to view it very similarly in this situation.
I have a challenge for those Christians because I have actually been running into quite a few of them myself. I want some sort of documented proof of Donald Trump's road to Damascus moment, because that's what everybody keeps telling me. And I've heard this thrown around more and more. Never Trumpers would never have allowed Saul to become Paul and become a disciple of Christ. That's not true, because you can see a demonstrative transformation. There has been no transformation for Donald Trump. He acts the same today as he did yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that, and the day before that. When someone becomes a Christian, whether it's new Coke, old Coke, whatever you want to call it, you can see a difference in their behavior. I know this because I've gone through it myself, and I'm not claiming to be perfect, and I have backsliding moments, and I have times that I shouldn't say things that I say anyway. I mean, you just heard me say one of them on the air not 5 minutes ago. I have never claimed to be perfect. But you can honestly see a transformation in someone when they literally accept Christ and bring them into their hearts. Now, that transformation may not always hold and it may not always be perfect, but you can see a change in their behavior. There has been no change in Donald Trump's behavior. And I call into account every pastor who says that he's a born-again Christian because he's newly converted to show me proof of his conversion, because I can't find any.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that very first rally when he pulled out the Bible, it was very obviously the one from the hotel room.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably said property of Gideon somewhere on there.
Later they got him a nicely beat up and thumbed through one, but at the beginning it wasn't.
They probably stole, not to go a little below the belt, but they probably stole it from Ted Cruz.
Is a little oversight. Oh, look at there.
All right, so anyway, folks, we are officially at the halfway mark. We got a little bit of a late start, but we're about 32 minutes in. We're going to have to take a break, pay some bills. When we come back, we have some stories we haven't even touched on yet, and hopefully I can stop screaming long enough for us to get through them. You are listening to Jenn and Rick right here live on KLNRradio.com. We'll be back here in just a couple minutes. If I can get the stuff to cooperate with me. We'll be right back.
Taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go around.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of a short story through to line edits of a full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Cause I'm proud as hell, I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is Jenn and Rick's part 2, post-commercial break, so we're into the last half of the show. And I have managed to find myself a Valium or some other equivalent while we were on commercial, so hopefully I can quit screaming and yelling. Miss Jen, I'm actually going to turn this part of the show over to you because you sent me about 3 or 4 other stories that we just haven't even had time to touch on yet because I keep ranting and raving. So your choice, dear. Where do we go next?
Okay, let's talk about Standing Rock here for a minute. So Standing Rock, for anybody that doesn't know, is the area where there's been all of these protests since the summer. It's protesting the placement of the Dakota Access Pipeline, which is going to run through the reservation there, and basically they're protesting because they think that it's going to desecrate tribal lands. I mean, these are Native American. Part of it runs through a Native American reservation area. It's going to desecrate tribal lands and affect the drinking water. So this is from, there's mainly one tribe affected, which is the Sioux Indians that have been there since before Wounded Knee, when they were driven north and west. And there have been activists, like I said, there have been activists there in various encampments since early in the summer, maybe even late spring, when it was announced that this is where the pipeline was going to be put. And if you just look at social media and you look at what kind of how the media is covering it, then you know that there's all these protests, and they also act as if, it's largely that people are largely, unified, that the tribe is mainly unified against this, which is really not the case. But the biggest thing that's happened lately, and we can talk about that a little bit, but the biggest thing that's happened lately is that over the last several days, the protesters became paranoid that the sheriff's department there was using Facebook check-ins in order to monitor and target protesters and try to drive them out of certain areas, because there have been some places in which they have camped out that they can't be. And so, at one point there was 141 arrests as they had to use basically cops in riot gear and with their, all-terrain kind of tank-like vehicles to drive these people out of these areas, particularly what are called the wildlands on the Cannonball River. So they were saying that, the county sheriff, they're using Facebook check-ins to go target activists and yada, yada, yada. And the county said, absolutely not. The sheriff's department said, no, because there's no way for us to reasonably be able to pinpoint through Facebook check-ins where people actually are or that they're really here, which is what ended up happening and they said, and so we don't use that. That's not something that we use. It's not in our interest and it's not on our radar. But people said, no. So this spread like wildfire through email, on Twitter, and on Facebook. So there were hundreds of thousands of check-ins in the last few days, 650,000 check-ins from all over the country, all over the world, people checking into Standing Rock. And the idea was that the mastermind plan here was they were going to confuse authorities so that they couldn't get the activists, which obviously, like I said, was not anything they were doing anyways. But I think what more awful to me, other than that there is absolutely no real sense of unity on this subject, even among the tribe. There are people in towns where the pipeline's going to go right through that are completely Native American, and that's who their councils are, and they are 100% for this. And they're actually sick of the protesters. They're angry at the activists. They want them to get out of their towns, get out of their areas. They've found them, they have car trouble. A lot of them come from all over. And so several of them have kind of reached out to some media, and it's not getting very much coverage because they want to say, by the way it's being covered, you would think that most of these protesters are the actual Indians, and they're not. They're people that have flown in, driven in from all over and are stationed there. So, anyways, I think one of the worst things that's come out of this is people comparing this to what is kind of considered the last major battle of the Indian Wars in 1890, comparing it to Wounded Knee, because it's not far from there. And what I think is just so disgraceful about that is that you're talking about protesting an oil pipeline that you don't even know will have actually any bad consequences. Now, the tribal lands and sacred areas, okay, from the get-go, if you're opposed to that, or if you do think that it is going to, do something against your culture, then I get being against that. But as far as comparing it to what was at least 150 Native American deaths, but some historians say it was at least 300 deaths, and was basically a massacre by the U.S. Army on this Native American tribe at Wounded Knee in 1890. To even try to compare it, I think is just insensitive and offensive.
Well, it just shows exactly the fact that we have no real sense of the suffering that anybody really had to go through at any point in our history anymore, because we've become so complacent about everything. And I mean, look, even the people, and I'm really not trying to make light of anybody at this point, but even people that are struggling in this country have food in their bellies for the most part. They have a roof over their head. Most of them have a flat screen TV and access to a vehicle. So they don't have any comprehension of the type of things that people of that time period went through on a daily basis, when they literally had to fight to go find food, or when they literally were being squeezed out of their homes because the government decided they wanted their lands and they decided through eminent domain that they were going to be able to take it. Now, as someone who looks white, people look at me like I'm crazy when I start talking like this, but the simple fact of the matter is I have Indian ancestry. So I know a lot about the history that we've gone through. One, because I'm in the state where most of them wound up, and two, because I actually have Indian blood in my family. It's on both sides of my family. So I know Native American history, a lot of it. I've taken time to study it because it became important to me once I realized that it was actually part of my heritage, even if I look like a white guy. So, I mean, it offends me to no end that people are comparing something like this to that very thing that you were just talking about, which was in essence a massacre. And they're like, well, this is worse. No, I'm sorry, it's not. It's really not.
Right. No, and there were memes going around. It was like, Wounded Knee 1890, and it shows this wall of Indians, and then it says Standing Rock, 2016, and it shows a couple protesters and a line of police with riot gear. I mean, it's just so disgusting to me to even try to compare it. I mean, here was a tribe that was driven far from their homelands, all the way up into North Dakota. And then, to add to that, I mean, the bison that they're used to living off of almost completely had been virtually wiped out as the settlement moved and as European and white settlers hunted them to near extinction. So their entire way of life is completely changed. The climate in which they live in is completely changed. And then to add insult to injury, they've got an army that is basically just watching them. Goes to arrest Sitting Bull, a skirmish breaks out and someone gets shot, and then Sitting Bull ends up getting killed. He wasn't even involved in the thing they came to arrest him for in the first place, which was the ghost dance, kind of a religious ceremony and thing that they had, a ritual they were taking up. And it just turned into an all-out massacre. It wasn't even a real battle. So I don't know. I saw this and I've seen it. My Facebook has just been filled with it, and it just has made me want to throw my phone out the window or my computer up against the wall and just scream at all of these people because because it's so embarrassing too. It's just so embarrassing. These people it's so stupid, and to think that you're really doing any sort of good by checking in there and and as if you even have a clue what's going on. I mean, most people just think, oh, okay, they said something about oil. No. Oh, and Native Americans. Okay, yes, pro that, anti this. And they don't even have the facts. They don't know what's going on. And then to make it worse, they're comparing it to just a completely disgusting and ugly moment in U.S. history and a tragedy for Native American Indians.
Oh, no, I mean, the whole thing is just crazy to me. It just proves how completely insensitive we are anymore when we start comparing things like that to real incidents in history where people were, rounded up. Some of them were actually slaughtered because they couldn't make the trip, or they died en route to the trip. So so it's just crazy to me to have these type of things brought up and say this is as bad as that was, if not worse. I don't understand how everything has gotten so completely over dramatized and this is again coming from someone who has Native American blood, because it kind of goes along with the same thing that I see happening every Columbus Day, where they start talking about we should rename that Indigenous Peoples Day because, Columbus was this really, really terrible guy. And maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. History is often written by those that have vanquished others and won conflicts. So I don't really know if the truth about Columbus is ever going to come out. But to rename a holiday just because it makes you feel better, to me that's as crazy as renaming the Redskins. Because that name's offensive. I mean, there are times when it actually behooves you to take something that is offensive to you and part of your culture and turn it around and make it unoffensive and embrace it. I've done it in my own life several different times because of things that have happened to me and injuries that I've sustained, and people have had interesting ways of looking at me because I have a limp. And from when you first get to know me until I start speaking, a lot of people assume that I have special needs because I have a limp. And it's one of those things where if you walk funny, people just automatically assume you're retarded. So I got really thick-skinned because from the time I was shot until now, everybody's made fun of me my entire life until I embraced it. I'm just saying, there are things that will work if you let them. There are ways to get past this stuff instead of always dwelling on it. And saying that something like this is as bad as Little Bighorn is insane.
Right. It really is. Or at the very least, it's a complete misunderstanding or ignorance of history.
Which is entirely possible. Which is entirely possible because they really don't even teach.
Yeah, I think that's much more likely the case with a lot of these people, which is really sad.
It's kind of like the people that keep talking about how, Donald Trump's going to win because he's going to get the most votes, and that's not how any of this works because they don't teach civics anymore. So, I mean, not to go back to Trump again all of a sudden, but, just saying.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's sort of talk about Trump, but not quite
So are we
going
to talk about the guy from down your way now?
Yeah, we are. Okay, so Sid Miller is the Texas Agricultural Commissioner. It's an elected position. He was elected in 2015, or he took office in 2015. So today he put out a tweet that said, Pennsylvania, new Auto Alliance poll, Trump 44. And instead of Clinton 43, it had the C word 43. Go, Trump, go, exclamation point. Okay, so I think immediately I was like, okay, let's check and make sure this is real. I start seeing it kind of passed around. It's like, let's make sure this is real. Okay, yep, seems like it was. It got picked up by several media outlets, and there are screen caps. It was deleted within about 10 minutes, but several screen caps of the tweet. Then the next thing that came out was him saying that he was hacked, that he'd been meetings most of the day, so he was hacked. Then not too long after that, within minutes after that, his office comes out and contradicts him, doesn't even say anything about the hack because they probably haven't talked to him. And they decide to say that it was, they have like some automated systems and some things that work and interns and stuff that do retweets throughout the day. And that a tweet was inadvertently retweeted that had, this obviously this derogatory word in it that they didn't realize, and then they took it down as soon as they did. Well, there's a few problems with that. First of all, obviously, him in his office saying different things automatically makes you think something's up here. Second of all, it wasn't a retweet. Unless someone just copy and pasted someone else's tweet into his account and made it seem like it came from him. There was no RT, there was no MT. It looked like an exact original tweet. So this was not just a retweet. That's just ridiculous. And he's a known Trump supporter. He's been pushing for him for a while. He's been featured in media several times as someone for Trump. I have gotten into it with a couple people online about this because they're like, whatever. It's kind of like this Christian argument we had earlier. They're like, how can you judge him if you never made a mistake? Or you so perfect that you've never said something you shouldn't have said? And it's like, that doesn't matter. He's held to a higher standard. It's from his Texas Ag Commissioner account. He had to write it, or whoever wrote it had to write it, had to look at it, had to hit send. This isn't the same as just some slip of the tongue or some little whoopsie. This was a purposeful thing said and tweeted. This isn't an autocorrect. So, I just think that is a ridiculous argument. We hold these people to higher standards, particularly elected officials, to higher standards. We should. And now we've got two criminals, basically, crooked lying criminals running, and one of them's going to be president. So I don't know that this isn't just kind of summing up election 2016. Decency be damned. We don't care. Civility out the window. Say what you want.
There are few words darker than "your child has cancer." But with the help of Oklahoma's trusted...
Sorry, I was actually reading a news story. It is one of those ones where as soon as I started trying to read it, it decided it wanted to play an ad. Okay, so look, I'm as capitalist as the next guy, but can we go back to like print ads on websites, please?
I know. Gosh, it's so annoying.
There's so much noise and moving pictures now. I just, if I want an ad, let me read it. But yeah, so anyway, sorry to steal your thunder. I was just looking over something that I thought we might talk about on the way out the door. But yeah, I mean, I saw the same thing, and at first I was like, there's no way this is legitimate. This actually came from somebody that's kind of important in Texas, and sure enough, then it came out about an hour later. He's like, oh my God, I was hacked. I'm so sorry. And then it wasn't even him that put out the apology. It wasn't even him that really put out the apology tweet. Somebody got into the account and tweeted out, he is so sorry if anyone was offended by this tweet, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that's the thing, is there's still no real apology. I mean, I still think it's irresponsible even if it had been a retweet. I don't think it's a very good excuse. I do understand that would kind of happen, and then you realize you go, oh crap, and you take it away. But that's not what this was. And I don't know if he wrote it or if it was someone, that has access to his account or whatever. But it's completely unacceptable from an elected official of that stature, or anybody really. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Now, just to play devil's advocate, there is that whole 149 character limit. What if he was trying to abbreviate "see you on Tuesday"?
Yeah,
completely kidding.
So. And the thing is like, I'm a woman, and this is why whenever we went through the whole Trump locker room thing, like, I am not immune or a pansy to, some kind of brash and vulgar talk. And I have worked in an industry for a really long time where that kind of stuff is just everywhere. All my friends are guys, and words don't particularly... Name calling of this sort doesn't particularly hurt my feelings or strike my sensibilities to a certain degree. I don't really care. It's a word, like any other curse word or name call. But in almost every circle you will ever be in, it's almost as unacceptable as the N-word. So, that's just the fact. That's the reality. And it just can't be excused away even the same way the B word could.
Nope, completely agree. It never should have been said. Even if he was hacked, he should have come out with an apology of his own instead of letting some staffer do it. Now, we've got about 4 minutes left. On the way out the door, this one just came across the wire, and I actually have seen Sean Hannity himself tweeting about it, so I thought this might be an interesting thing to talk about on the way out. Apparently, radio host Sean Hannity on Tuesday, which was earlier today, embraced a piece of fake news about President Obama deleting endorsements of Hillary Clinton from his Twitter account and actually mentioned it on air. The progression of events illustrates how fake news stories expand and spread from fringe websites to nationally syndicated radio shows with millions of listeners. In this case, the fake news originated on a dubious site called Your Newswire, which publishes a mix of true, slanted, and made-up news. Then, like a game of telephone, by the time the story got to Hannity, even the fake facts were wrong. The site wrongly claimed that Michelle Obama had scrubbed all references to Hillary Clinton from both of her Twitter accounts and implied that it was the result of the FBI investigation into Clinton. A thicket of far-right-wing websites picked up the story and ran with it. Red State Watcher said the news was breaking, and News Ninja 2012 said it was suspicious and that rats were jumping from the ship. Sorry, folks, we actually know who runs that site, and it's kind of a little inside joke.
Oh, no.
Because, very, very pro-Trump folks over there. So that was I just thought it would be kind of interesting to touch on that. Now, I can honestly say I have made that type of mistake in the past. It was back when everything was still running as through Facebook pages, and I actually was looking through YouTube videos, and I saw something that I could have sworn said CNN, but apparently The Onion has a logo on their YouTube videos that looks remarkably like CNN, but it was ONN. So I'm posting this video of somebody that looks like they're literally standing in the well of the Senate floor talking about some completely crazy thing, and I don't even remember what it was. And I'm like, oh my God, this is from CNN. And I post it, and the next thing I know, I've got like 50 people going, dude, that's a fake news site. I'm like, oh my God, you're kidding me. So, I mean, I have done these type of things before, and I'm not necessarily poking that much fun at Sean Hannity, other than the fact I would think that somebody that actually gets paid the type of money that he gets paid to do this stuff might actually vet the things that he talks about before he talks about them. Just saying. Hey, LifeLock, how you like him now?
Oh my gosh. News Ninja. That's great. That's so great.
All right, so we are on the way out the door. Why don't you remind folks where it is they can interact with you when you're not off the radio listening to me yell and scream like a moron?
For sure. Twitter at Jay Homestead, Facebook J.R. Homestead. I need to be better about being on there, but I'm always on Twitter. And then misfitpolitics.weebly.com.
Facebook's for old people. You're a millennial. You have an excuse.
Okay, I'm good with that. Although I do despise being a millennial. It's such a crap thing. Yeah, I'm barely on the little age bracket.
Whatever.
I'm barely on the little part of the age bracket, and I wasn't initially, and then they added me in.
Hey, blame NASA. They changed the Zodiac. That's when it all went to hell.
Yeah, it's not fair. I'm lumped in with people that are like 17 right now and have never not known a world without a smartphone, whereas, I didn't even get a little Nokia crap phone until I was 18 and was moving halfway across the country so that I could even be in touch with family.
So what? You got this phone last week? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. Shut up.
All right, folks.
Longer ago than I want to mention.
Hey, I was trying to pay a compliment there. It was a bit of a backhand compliment, but a compliment nonetheless. All right, folks, and I, of course, can be interacted with on Twitter, and I do encourage that because it's where I do spend most of my time because I'm an old people, but Facebook annoys me. And I'm not going to lie. Twitter has some really cool features that Facebook needs to, play catch-up with because the whole GIF thing is the gift that keeps on giving. Because when I'm tired of people being stupid, I can just start gifting things to them, and eventually they will go away. I had one guy that kept calling me a traitor over and over and over again, and he would come back and say it again. So I found a gif from The Princess Bride where the dude's like, this word, you keep saying it. I do not think this word means what you think it does. There's a gif that actually says that, so I just kept posting it over and over and over again. Eventually he blocked me.
That's funny.
All right, and we are out, folks. Again, this will actually air again tomorrow in America Off the Rails time slot because it's been a crazy day, and I don't have time to get one put together for tomorrow because the wife is on vacation, and I'm going to be a good boy and go spend time with her tomorrow instead. Don't forget, though, we do have a guest coming up on Thursday's episode. I'll actually be talking about that some probably tomorrow when G is on the air because I don't want to butcher her name right now, but she's coming on to talk about the New Americana. It's a blog that has recently revamped, and she is going to be a major part of that. And also, we do launch on CRN this weekend, so make sure you check that out over on America Off the Rails' new syndication home through crntalk.com on Saturdays and Sundays at 9 Eastern, 7 Pacific. And we're out because I'm already running long. I'm going to stop talking now. You guys have a good night.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.